Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. It was a warm, balmy summer's evening. 8 men in a line. Nervous anticipation. A disembodied voice sounds out across the stadium. On your marks. Get set. Go! And Usain Bolt rises from the blocks. Fast, faster, faster, powering down the track. And at the end, he raises his arms to win the 2008 gold medal at the Beijing Olympics. But it was that start, it was the beginning, that was the key. Without that explosive start, he would have not been able to announce himself to the world in the way he did right at the end. With that explosive start, he announced himself to say to all his rivals and to all of us around him, here I am, I'm the number one, you have to beat me now. And we remember that. We remember it because of that explosive start. This evening, I'd like to take the idea of an explosive start and translate that into our speaking, and how the speech, the beginning of the speech, is really important, and how many of us, when we get up to speak, we just plow straight into our speech without any thought of what it is we're trying to do, and why we are making the most of our beginning. So I'd like to share with you some criteria that you might like to use when you are beginning your speech or planning to begin your speech, and then go through some examples that you can use in your next speech to make your speech that explosive speech, and you can be your own Usain Bolt. So let's ask the question and answer it. Why is the beginning of the speech so important? I've listened to many speakers who it takes about 5 minutes before you realise that they haven't actually begun. It's true, I hear it all the time. The key point of starting your speech is to get the attention of your audience. You're like a fisherman, casting your rod, casting your hook out. And providing you've got some good bait on the other end, you've got to have your audience in your hand. It's vitally important that you get the attention of the audience, because the audience will be listening to you for a few seconds, but unless you have something important to say and something in for them, they will have switched off. Secondly, when you are engaging with your audience, it gives you an opportunity to set out exactly what it is you want to say. It's also your opportunity to tell the audience why they should listen to you, what is in it for the audience. What benefits do they have listening to you? Also, it's another opportunity for you to check, to understand the understanding of the audience. Have they grasped the key points that you are trying to make when you start your speech? And finally, you're looking to establish rapport with your audience. If you haven't got the audience on your side in the first few seconds, then you can stand up here feeling extremely uncomfortable, the words will not come out, and you will die a death. And how to establish rapport? Well, most audiences are very forgiving. They want to see certain things from you right from the start. The first thing they want to see is, are you yourself interested in what you are saying? Do you come across as someone who is passionate about what they're saying? Have you managed to convey to your audience in the first few seconds that what you are doing up here makes sense and it's important to you? If you have, the audience will get that straight away. Secondly, the audience wants to know, so what's in it for us? Why are we listening to you? And thirdly, the easiest way of getting rapport with an audience is to start to look at your audience. Each person should feel that they are being spoken to by the speaker. And it doesn't take much to do. All you have to do is take a look around the room, glance at someone for a few seconds, and you'll see if they're paying attention to you or not. So this is the basis of starting of all speeches. And if you pay attention to the beginning, then you will find that your flow will go through the whole of the speech. So now I'd like to give you some openings that you can use in any speech that you may wish to give. I was going to use a flip chart, but unfortunately we have no paper, so unfortunately I'm going to have to read out a few of these to you. There's 6 ideas I want to give you. The first one is to state the importance of the topic. Second, make a statement, a bold or a startling statement. Number 3, to tell a story, to begin your speech with a story. Number 4, use questions, either ordinary questions or rhetorical questions. Number 5, a quote. A good quote delivered well will buy the day. And last is reference the occasion. So let's take a look at those. Stating the importance of your topic. If what you are saying is important to you and you wish to get that across, then say it up front. At our previous meeting, Ali was talking about the importance of deficiencies with vitamin D and lack of sunshine. Well, supposing that you took the opposite stance and you wanted to talk about the dangers of exposure to sunshine. Well, you might want to start your speech by saying, did you know overexposure to the sun is damaging to your skin, is aging, and could lead to cancer? Tonight, I'd like to explain to you what you can do about limiting the damage that the sun could do to you. There you are, you set your stall out. I think I've been very clear exactly what I was trying to get across to you, and then you can go into the rest of the speech. State it up front. A second technique you can use is to make a statement. It can be bold, it can be startling, or it can be both. It's often said, when talking about public speaking, it's often said that most people would rather die than to come up and stand in front of an audience. Do you know what is really startling about that statement? That 80% of people who listen to that statement believe it's to be true. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's another way of opening your speech, by coming up with a statement and maybe making it really forcefully, and even try to startle your audience with the force of what I was trying to say. But I got your attention. And that is a great way of starting off and beginning your speech. Storytelling. Maybe you don't want to be so bold. Maybe you don't want to be so forceful. Maybe you want to lull your audience into what your message and say it in a slightly different way. So you could start off with a story. For example, a student named Raquel Sorensen, living in Reykjavik in Iceland, went to her cash machine one day. Nothing unusual about that. She placed her card into the machine, only to find no money. It was a Saturday, so she didn't think much of it. Saturday, machines run out of money. So she went to another bank and another cash machine. She repeated the process. Still no money. Odd, she says to herself. I just deposited over 3,000 krona into the bank last week. Must be a Saturday. She repeated the process again. She went to at least 5 different banks within downtown Reykjavik. Still no money. Oh, it must be the weekend. I'll leave it to Monday. Monday comes. She goes to the bank. Still no money. Now she's starting to think, is my card broken? Something going wrong? So she decides to call the bank. Hello? No answer. She tries again. Still no answer. Now she's beginning to panic. Now she's deciding, I need to go and see what's going on. She walks down the main avenue, goes to where her bank is. Bank's closed. The issue was not that she didn't have money in her bank. The issue was that the bank didn't have money in the bank. The issue was that Iceland had gone bust. This evening, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the plight of Raquel and also how the banking crisis in Iceland affects us all. So you could use that type of technique to tell a story, get your audience interested, and then move on to establish the ideas that you're trying to, especially if you are trying to talk about something complex, banking crisis. Questions are always good. For example, I attended a fire demonstration of safety in the home. So here's a question for all of you. How many of you would know what to do if a fire broke out in your kitchen? How many of you have a fire blanket? Those of you who do have a fire blanket, how many of you have taken it out of the packaging? And for those of you who have taken it out of the packaging, how many of you know exactly how to handle that fire blanket when dealing with a fire? I'm going to explain to you now how you can handle any fire by using a fire blanket safely. And then you can go in to talk about what to do in case of a fire using a fire blanket. Just a matter of interest, how many of you do have a fire blanket?
I do, and I forgot to use it when
One
my kitchen
person.
caught fire.
Well, there we go.
Can you put it over yourself and run?
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. The beauty of questions is that you can choose whether you want your audience to answer the question there and then, or just to plant the idea in their head. Fantastic way of starting any speech. What about quote? Quotes are always great, but make sure that the quote is relevant to the rest of the topic you're going to speak about. So I'm going to be speaking about public speaking. So here's a great quote, which many of us have already heard before. It's anonymous, but nevertheless it's still very relevant. And it's all about public speaking. So the advice to any person who wants to speak in front of an audience is this. I quote, "Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them, and then tell them what you've just told them. For that is the art of a great speech." Unquote. And that can set you up to continue your speech to justify the claims you've just made within that quote. So the quote can be the skeleton around which you base the rest of your argument. The final area I would like to look at is referencing the occasion. Now this idea is that you may have had another speech, another meeting somewhere in the past, and now you're going to report on what happened then and what's happened now. For example, 2 years ago, Grosvenor Square Speakers Committee met to discuss the crisis that had overtaken the club. Membership was down, we had to move venues, the committee was in disarray. Today I am pleased to announce, 2 years later, a recent committee meeting where full membership in the committee. We're almost up to twice the membership in the club, continuing to grow, and plus the Distinguished Club Plan, which we work towards every year, we are about to achieve 10 points. Absolutely amazing. And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that. So I've spoken about something that happened in the past, and now I'm giving you a report about what's happened since that time to get to where we were today. So back to Usain Bolt. There he is, down on the blocks, ready to get up and run. He made a statement that night when he got up from those blocks. He held our attention, and we remember it to this day. Using these techniques, which I'll just recap to you, you can use stating the importance of the speech, make a startling or bold statement, telling the story, asking questions, using quotes, or referencing the occasions. any of those techniques can get you off to that flying start, just like Usain Bolt, the one that you deserve.